Hello, hello, lovelies. We are we are at the retreat at my home, and I have my train coach here, Jacqui, who came also for just one day. And where do you have to live, hon?
I have to go to an appointment in LA and
Oh
then
my
I've got to head
God,
back to
it's a
Boston.
busy lady here, but she made it here, and we had such a great time last night, didn't we?
Yeah,
What did
it's
we do?
very relaxing here.
It's very relaxing. She loved it. So we just like hanging out all like up till midnight, right? Uh, Outside, and it was so beautiful, and we had such a great time. So you ladies, if you are interested in this very private mini gathering, like we only have three ladies here, and two leave today, so we're still gonna have Nicole until tomorrow. So she's gonna have her private time with me. So anyway, this is actually her idea, her project or her program, whatever. So tell us about what you've been doing, Jacqui. The last time we did the interview was we were in Cabo. Remember, it was
Yes.
like over 2 months ago, and so she has basically crystallized what she wants to do with her coaching business. So if you're also interested to be my train coach, PM me after this broadcast. All right. So Jacqui, tell us how you're doing. So this is more like I'm interviewing you now. But no, let's just start with you. Introduce yourself, what you're doing.
Okay. Hi, group. I'm Jackie, and I'm learning from Kat how to be coaching. And I've learned an awful lot in the last 5 years since I came across her material. And um, my challenge right now is I don't have any want to be some sort of internet persona. But I also think the material is very good, and I think it helped me, and I think it'll help other people. So, Kat came up with the idea of as we get over sort of camera shyness and getting used to being on the camera to get the message across, rather than to promote my personality, for example. She said, "Well, why don't you practice doing interviews of other people? That way, you don't feel quite as much pressure that you have to appear to be so and so or such and such, and the material, as you said, is the
Yeah.
focus so that
Yeah.
people can learn and it helps people that way, and you get over sort of the camera shyness. So that's what we're doing. We're doing a few interviews this year, and I'll be doing a few more interviews with thought leaders in the love field, love and sex field, and
Oh,
compile
love
them
and
into,
sex.
yeah. So when I write my ebook, which is in progress, I'm about halfway done. I'll be able to have a extra bonus where you can opt to additionally purchase the set of 10 interviews. So that was my project. Got a good idea.
It's
Get
so,
over
so
camera
awesome.
shy.
I'm so excited to
Get in the
see
vibe.
the end product of her, you know, of her project basically. And I think you know, she'll hit off so many people's mind and heart, so many ladies' mind and heart. So I guess the platform is yours. You ask me questions, hon. I'm
Okay,
just
sure.
here for the ride.
I mean, we've talked about the first one a million times, but I do feel like until you really get it, you don't get it from my experience.
Mm.
So I guess my first question would be about the leaning back life philosophy. So this is a good one because yesterday here at the retreat, we didn't really have a set agenda, and as opposed to some of Kat's events I've gone to in the past, it wasn't like a lot of the ladies had really pressing, disturbing issues they wanted to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And we all just sort of leaned back yesterday. So I think it's a good topic to start off on. What could you speak to us about the
Yeah,
leaning back life philosophy, whether it's in
this is
life, career, or men?
right. Because this is such a mini gathering, right? Mini retreat, only three people, so four with myself. So I I tried to have some structure a little bit yesterday, but then again, we are really here to learn from modeling, right? Not really so much from the mind level, which is how to, and then rigid left brain's process, which I don't really focus on. If you notice, ladies, I'm more into the right brain approach to coaching, which is to inspire you, to intrigue you, to sort of make you question and makes you see things that you previously, excuse me, you
Phone's
previously
ringing.
cannot see or haven't seen, right? So that is my job as a coach, is really to induce that kind of like, hey, uh, it's the way she does things, the way she says things, really sort of makes me think of something, the way I approach things and why it hasn't worked. For example, Jacqui will tell you the story of her experience in Kabul, like when you ask for a box. Oh,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that's a good example too. So, like, we were in Cabo, and technically at the resort, though we paid a lot, you're not supposed to take to go food to your room. And I noticed that the whole time, Kat was very friendly with the staff and talking to them like it was her best friend. And at the end, she would just very subtly ask for a box,
yeah.
and she would get a box every time. So the last day, I decided to get my food and take it back to my room in a box because I had seen her successfully do this so many times against the
Against all
rules
odds.
or whatnot. So I asked this woman, and she didn't give me the box and told me it was against the rules. So I wasn't really upset, but I was just momentarily like, huh, how come she gets the box and when I ask, I don't get the box? And I realized it's not as much what you say in life, the words, because I said the same words that she said. It's more the vibration you carry that
The
people are going
energy.
to respond to. So my perception of, in retrospect, after I thought about it for a minute, the vibration I picked up and learned from her that day was when she asked for the box, she had no fear of
Or
rejection
no
and
guilt about that.
guilt or feeling bad about it, and that
It's just a
people
normal thing
respond to
to
that
do. Yeah.
positive energy. As far as like, I thought of it as like if you're asking a guy for something,
It's like asking a favor.
yeah, like I call it the ask, because the ask determines the response you're gonna get if you want something from your boyfriend or your partner.
Ah.
So I had the whole learning thing about like, this is, it's not necessarily you don't have to sit there and think of like, oh, I need the perfect words, and if I just hit the perfect words, then he'll understand like exactly what I want. It's more like embracing a really open, accepting feeling in your body about what you want, even if it's something as stupid as a to-go box, and then connecting to the person from that place of wanting something and believing you deserve it. And then the vibe will be positive in the connection, which makes people want to give you what you want. But what I
Ah.
was doing that day, and I wasn't realizing it, was I already was thinking what I was asking was wrong,
Oh.
like a
That's
child
interesting.
asking mom or dad for a cookie and they know it's wrong. So like when I approached the woman, I think she read more the vibe that I was like already decided that this was wrong and trying to get away with it. And so she responded to the negative energy that I
She
was holding.
confirmed it.
She confirmed, yeah. So as opposed to like, so after I thought about that, I was momentarily like, hey, what the hellies here? But then like after a minute I was like, you know what? I did that. That woman didn't. She merely responded to me already deciding that I was doing something wrong because I wanted the box.
Right.
So it was like a very small moment in the day, but I had a big learning because I picked up her vibe, and now I've been really focused now if I'm asking for something from, friends, family, relationships. I take an extra second before and I get in the positive vibe that I deserve what I'm asking for and make a better connection before I ask, and it seems like it's really working. So the power of the ask was
Oh.
maybe that
That's
was a
that,
good
that sort of
lesson.
insights that, when you are trained under me, you can pick and then create another, like a whole book on it, for example. Maybe not a whole book, but at least a blog post or an article. So this is the creative process that I teach my clients, because every client will be different, right? Some or every student will be different. Some student is really on top of things in terms of find guinea pigs to coach. Jacqui is not like that, so I have to help her find really her thing, right? So then I come with this idea. I think you're going to be very good if you just interviewing experts, and then you write about it in the process, because she loves writing and she's a writer, probably more so than a coach in a way. But that is also something that can develop later on. So because people's learning styles, passions, and give are different. As a coach, my job is really not to give my way to them, but really just to guide them to see where their gifts are and capitalize on them. So this is what I do. So if you train under me, it will be different from one student to the next. I have to know what their passion are, what they like, and they're naturally good at. Because here's the thing, if you're not naturally good at whatever it is that you want to do, you won't stick to it. It's just the simple cold hard truth. If you don't like what you do, you won't stick to it. So it's very important to first like what you do and to find what you like. Yeah, that's also the key, because not everyone is going to like talking on camera by themselves. For example, Jacqui loves more interviewing. So I said, well, start there. Open doors for you, because it's a process. Let the process unfold. That is my method. uh, as per her question, how that is a leaning back method. Pretty much, that is a leaning back lifestyle that I live. So, for example, our classroom yesterday is pretty much moved from the Zen room, which is uh, my living room. Well, I call it a Zen room because the living room is the one in the kitchen. The kitchen. So usually during retreat, I have it there because easier to do it that way. We have more like 10 people. It's easier to do it in a classroom setting like that. But we only like three of us. Why not just bring it outside and do it while we do activities, swimming, whatever. Too bad the hot tub broke just in time for the retreat. So today it will be fixed, by the way, but she's already leaving. But anyway, so we did it outside in this setting, sort of the intimate setting of just talking with each other, right? Like brainstorming. But that is also a classroom. That is my style of teaching. Can be anyway. Can can be in the classroom setting or in just intimate setting in which you ask me questions and I give you uh, answers and real life examples through modeling.
Yeah, I
So
think of all the times I've visited with Kat, yesterday she was talking about the genius zone and the lean back. And I feel like, as opposed to intellectually understanding what she's talking about, for the first time yesterday, I got how to drive the vibration by myself in her absence, because we really clicked into this tranquil, creative zone, what she calls the genius zone, where you don't have any resistance and you don't have any, you're not fighting whatever's happening. So your brain waves actually drop. So you're more connected with the universe. And that's when these synchronicities and these creative bursts, and something happened to me yesterday where I've been trying to get a project started for months. And suddenly, out of the blue, when after we got into this tranquil, peaceful zone, I got a phone call, and this person that a friend had given my phone number to actually called me and said they want to set up exactly the project, and they work for an international foundation who has access to exactly what I want for in terms of land grants in the Amazon, because I have friends who
wow.
live in the Amazon rainforest, and we want to do a project to preserve the indigenous plant knowledge base and purchase some tracts of land. So this person just called me. I'm sitting here relaxing by the pool, and I get into the Zen vibe with Kat, and I'm leaning back, and I'm totally happy with the day, and my life just seems perfect, even though obviously I have challenges day to day. And just like this Christmas present just drops out of the sky of this phone call of this perfect person that's going to just hook me up with what one of my life goals is. So that was the power for me yesterday of the leaning back and the genius zone. So do you want to talk about the genius zone as
Yeah.
a lifestyle too?
So Genius Zone is a program I offer in uh, one of my work or my programs. It's called Midas Touch, the exploration of your genius zone, right? Basically, this is the wisdom I live by that has brought me far in this life, including living in this home, in this paradise, and then living the freedom lifestyle that I have. Of course, everything changed after the lockdown, right? These days we are hanging sort of tight onto the last breath of whatever we have right now in the world. Um, uh, but the genius zone is the zone I live in, like, or in every waking minute of my life. Meaning that this is the zone of without worries, anxieties, restlessness, and all the derivative emotions that come with that sense of anxiety, right? So basically, the genius zone is the opposite of uh, the neurosis zone. So what is the neurosis zone? So if you, ladies and gentlemen, spend most of your waking moment worrying about things in your head, about, for example, what to do, what you haven't done, what regret about things you haven't done, and the restless feelings about things you have to do, you will do, you need to do, but you are really not doing anything, rather than just torturing yourself to death in your head, you are in your neurosis zone. So you spend inordinate amount of time worrying. This is unfortunately the state of mind or the state of affairs of the vast majority of people. They think if they are just worrying in their heads, they're really making progress, right, in life. But the more you worry, the more you ruminate about things that might not be relevant to your problems, to your situation at the moment, right? The less calories, the less motivations you have to do things that really matter, that will improve the quality of your life. So I want you to ponder over it. So if you feel stuck in your life right now, feel like you are not on the right path or you're not where you want to be in life, check in that chronic habit of always being neurotic, meaning you are in a state of constant inner fight or inner conflict with reality, with what is. So if the reality is this way, you want it that way, you compare it to the reality from some 3 weeks ago, 3 years ago, or 30 years ago. So you never won with what is moment to moment. You never won with reality moment to moment. And the result is you get so exhausted. It's very taxing to live in your neurosis zone day in, day, day out. It's very taxing to your nervous system. But as I said, the vast majority of people simply live in that zone because they don't know any better way. It's like sleeping, eating, playing in the trash. It's basically it. It stinks to high heaven. You eat there, you play there, you sleep there. Of course you're going to be miserable. Of course you're going to be unhappy, right? So the measure of mental health is, ladies and gentlemen, how able you are to live in your genius zones, out of your neurosis zones. Also, which also means uh, being in a genius zone or the quality of your mental health is how much you walk through life being an I, being a self, or being an ego. It might be, it's very hard to understand unless you really delve into it in an experiential way, right? Because when you approach whatever I teach through the mind level, you get confused because whatever the mind grasps, it's not it. If you don't have the accompanying experience to match the words, you really don't know it by heart. You really don't possess the knowledge. So the real knowledge is not something you learn from other people, from books, from experts, right? That you parrot. That is a low knowledge. That is a borrowed knowledge. What I'm teaching you, what I'm talking about is real knowledge. The knowledge that you own, that you have seen it for yourself, that you have experienced it firsthand for yourself. Because that is the only knowledge that lasts. The mind level knowledge, you say your mouth say it, you know, but your heart, your soul doesn't really vibrate according to what your mouth says.
That's good. That's one of the reasons why I think I can work with Kat's interviews and put the material, because I have such an analytical mind that I always almost nearly understand on an intellectual level what she's saying. However, it's taken me a few years to put it into practice, and that's what I was saying about yesterday, is like actually driving my own system energetically into the vibe where she, when we have retreats, holds the retreat, so that she's calling the genius zone. So I really got a click yesterday when I thought of it. One of the ways to explain it to people to understand is the brain waves, what I was mentioning. So
Yeah.
if you're thinking of I, me, or you're out in the future thinking of tomorrow or your worries you have to do, or you're in the past, like she said, thinking, oh, I wish today was like 10 years ago. Remember that everything was perfect in my life.
Yeah.
You're almost asleep in your thoughts, and you're not really present. So the brainwave is at a different level than if you're dropped in and you're synced up and you're connected. So when your brainwave drop out of the I, me, my, the neurosis zone she's talking about, which the brain will always cut reality. You're either, oh, the future will be better, I need to get there, or the past was better, I should be back there now, or right now isn't comfortable, I wish
Yeah.
XYZ. So that's when you're not connected and synced up. And
Yeah.
if you get out of that and just become happy with what is in every moment, like the Buddha, then you basically drop your brainwaves into a state where you become
Yeah.
synchronized with the environment. And that's when that's when I got this phone
Things
call
happen.
yesterday. That's where these things that she's calling the genius zone happen. And in relationships too is the same thing. Like you can't really see what actually in front of you if you're so in your head about me, my, what does this mean? What's going to happen tomorrow? But if you can drop in the brainwaves and get to an actual calm, unattached kind of Buddha like, just you're receiving the gift, whatever the gift is. Because the gift from life is never going to be always what you want it to be. But if
What
you
you need
wait your whole
is
life,
going to be what you need
yeah,
moment to moment.
exactly. If you wait your whole life for some, it's the same thing as women waiting their whole life for some Prince Charming, and then you're 80 years old and you never took a ride or had any fun with anyone because they weren't good enough for you, which is really just a low self confidence in yourself. But if you just take the gift, for example, like even if a guy opens doors for me now, like my old 5 years ago, 7 years ago self would be like, no, I'm only going to respond to some Prince Charming perfect guy because that's how I would have needed it so perfect in order to feel safe.
Mm.
Now I can receive gifts from any, like just a guy opening the door, like, oh, thank you for the gift. It's like reality is giving me gifts. And it doesn't have to be perfectly exactly what I want in the moment.
Right.
But by opening up and receiving life, I open the channels for more gifts and more people that may be more suited to an actual higher level connection. So that's when she says genius zone, that's where really we were playing
Yeah.
yesterday.
So genius zone is a state of zero resistance because there is a distinct absence of self in there. The absence of self meaning that not necessarily you disappear. The absence of self is basically you stop thinking about I, me, mine in such an unhealthy, dysfunctional way, right? If you notice the pattern of your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, but most people wouldn't be able to do that because they don't even know they're thinking all the time, right? But the state of mind of most people is the state of unskillful thinking about I, me, mine. If you can check that with yourself, you're already ahead of the vast majority of the population. So if you can catch yourself, wow, I've been just spending the last 20 minutes thinking about myself, I, me, myself, in such a discouraging way, dysfunctional way, sort of depressing way, right? A lot of people are not even aware of that mental habit. They don't know the difference between thinking and not thinking because they never experienced a quiet, spacious mind. To know what thought is, to know what thinking is, you have to know what non thinking is. right? The way you know night is only because you know what?
Day.
Day, exactly.
Mm.
If there is only night, you have never have any reference to day, then you know such thing as day. So night will be just a normalcy.
Mm.
It's the same, right? So opposites uh, give you a lesson in contrast, so you know one from the other. Then you can in the journey of personal growth, then you can find somewhere middle ground in the middle.
Yeah, once you
That's
have the
how you, yeah,
experience, once you have that experience, you'll
you
recognize the
balance
flavor
yourself.
in the future. Like, one of the good ways, if you don't have any idea what she's talking about, one of the best ways I can think of is if you ever had a really great hookup or just an awesome week, and your heart is open and you're in the vibe of love, you will notice as you fall in love, so people call it, which really just means you've opened your heart and you're on a very open brain waves,
Yeah.
and the heart vibration is open to the universe. You will suddenly have all these synchronicities, and most women think, oh, this is a sign that this is the right guy, but really what's going on is you've opened your heart and you're less in your head about yourself, and you've actually connected to the universe around you, and that's when you drop into a deeper level of the universe where everything's connected, and that's when all these synchronicities, you've had a great like time with a guy, and then you see all these signs, like he said something, and then you drive by a billboard and you're like, this means this is the guy for me. What it really means is you opened your heart, you dropped into a loving vibration, and now you're really open to the universe. So that's one way. If you don't know what she's referring to, the genius zone, I'll bet you've been there after a really great hookup, or feeling like you're falling in love. That's kind of like you're not resisting.
That's good. That's good. That's beautiful. So do you see how good she is when she's doing interviews? All her fears are just dissolving because she feels more confident. So this is her element. So back to the, I'm gonna piggybacking on your words on
Mm-hmm.
brain waves, right? So there are four distinct brain waves, right? When you are awake, we're talking. For most people, they are in their beta brain waves. That is the brain wave of sort of wide awake, not asleep. You're busy doing your chores, doing your normal daily things. Most people will be on the state of beta.
So that's a high sort of, that was like
Yeah,
way up
very
here
very
on the
busy, very
brainwave side.
high, busy brain wave,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's a lot of things are happening in this beta brain waves. A lot of unhappiness, depression, stresses, uh, neurosis on beta wavelength. And under beta will be alpha. Alpha is the state of meditation. So when you practice meditation, when you do your meditation session, you pretty much um, access the alpha brainwave, which is slower than or rarer, probably, right? Rarer than the beta brainwave, like this, the neurotic brainwave. So this is the alpha will be more, what do you call it then?
I don't know, but I
Wavy,
know how to
like
describe it.
wavy,
I used to
yeah.
drive a lot for work, and I'd be like doing all my work, and I'd be up in the beta. I have to do this. I got to do my expense report, and then I'd get in a car, and I worked in California here, and I'd drive across the desert, and my brain would just drop into sort of like
But
a
it's more like
walking driving
a
meditation.
yeah, a relaxed state of mind.
Right.
Relax, you're awake, relax, but basically without worries, pretty relaxed. Now, most people can approach, can access the alpha brainwave through practice of meditation. So it's a good thing, ladies. So if you haven't done meditation, start, you know, exercising or practicing meditations to slow down your brain wave, so you know what I'm talking about. To access a deeper dimension of consciousness, of awareness, you have to be aware of these things. So you have to be aware of the brain wave, right? So alpha is pretty accessible. So at least you can access that. Now below alpha, the state being uh,
Theta, right?
between delta, which is fast asleepness, and alpha, there is also a brain wave called theta. It's
Theta.
even theta, theta,
Theta. Theta.
theta, Theta is like even slower. It's just almost flat but not flat. Flat will be delta because then you are deep in deep sleep, right?
That's the meditating
So
monks. If they take the monks'
so
meditation,
theta
it shows
is
the
even
theta.
slower than alpha. And usually those people who can access the theta brainwaves are awakened beings, awakened beings who have seen the nature of the ego mind,
When people say
the
5D,
nature of the self.
that's
Yes.
the 5D
So the
wavelength.
5D wavelength is theta. People who just dwell on theta most of their waking moment, they have no inner conflicts. They might have from time to time it shows up, but they're fully aware of it, and they always know what to do with the sort of like tension or friction inside of themselves because they're completely aware of their mind, the functioning of the mind, and also completely aware of the thinking process.
It's
Right?
like the monk.
Right.
We were
So
talking about monks, or they had an experiment where monks were exposed to a
yeah,
strong pain stimulus, and the average person was exposed to a strong pain stimulus, and they're watching the brain waves. The brainwave of the monk notes this
right.
pain. It goes boop, and it knows it's in pain, and then it immediately returns to baseline and continues the wave. The
Oh,
normal, quote unquote, normal people, you'll show the big blip for the pain, and then
mm.
for an hour to 2 hours, they'll remain in a
So
disturbed. They're thinking about
yeah,
what happened, as opposed to, it's a story I read about two monks are not supposed to touch women, and there was a story about monks who this monk came
yeah,
across a woman, and she was trying to cross a river, and his buddy said, oh, you're not allowed to touch
yeah. He
her, and he
carried it.
just picked her up and carried
Yeah.
her across the river, and he continued on with his day, and an hour later his buddy turns to him and
You
says,
touch a
you
woman.
touched the woman, man. And he's
Yeah,
like, are you still carrying her? I put her down an hour ago. So
exactly.
that's
That's a good
most
story.
people's brain, and that's the monks who are
Always
in the
worrying.
theta. It happens, but then you just move on and keep on syncing up.
Okay. And then the theta brainwave is basically approachable when you are developed medicinal, no, meditation practitioner like the Buddhist monks that he's talking about. Also, basically people who have seen for themselves, who have awakened from the nature of ego mind, their brain is going to rewire, creating new neuron connections. This is the state of mind also that I live in 24/7, the theta brain waves, meaning that pretty much my mind is quiet, spacious, not busy thinking about unnecessary, unimportant things, right? What most people think important for me is just not something worth entertaining. This is why maybe for some people, she's just strange. She's off, right? She's off because she's not like most people who uh, operate on beta brainwave. So most of my waking life, pretty much, I stay in the theta brainwave state. So always quiet, spacious, always in the state of observation, detached observation, detached observation. So always observing things around me and reflect. So that is the state of beingness that I teach in all my programs, especially Journey Inward and Midas Touch. The minute you can access that brainwave, right, you become the greatest manifestors in life, in your life, in the world, whatever. So only when you are with, you have no separation, you have no conflict with the outer reality, moment to moment, whatever that is. So you are always one with reality. You are in the state of oneness or unity. That's why it's called unity consciousness, right? You have this healthy, intact energy that you can direct or focus on things that will and can change your life as well as other people's lives.
You're essentially resourceful. So, like we talked about, the big question yesterday is what is an abundance lifestyle, or what would be an
Hmm.
abundant woman? And so I think this brainwave discussion really is capping off what we talked about, because it's and a woman who has emotional well-being becomes a treasure, like a well, to the people around her, because she can offer somebody may come into her environment, and they're way up in the they're worried about this or that. They're in the brainwave that's causing them to be over obsessive about themselves. And you're in that high, you can't really see openings in life. You're so blinded by thinking about the worries in yourself and the bad things. You can't see the opportunity to be giving and gracious to others and to yourself because you're so busy in your mind. So what she's talking about is dropping into a connected state, and then because you're slowed down, you can see where another person needs your help or resources or just lovingness. And even for yourself, like, oh, I need some self-care today, I'm having a rough day. So like that's the woman and the lifestyle that's emotionally abundant, which honestly it's a new luxury. It's great to have money, but the new luxury is emotional well-being in life, and not everybody, no matter how much
Perfect.
money you have, has
Perfect.
that and likes to offer.
Exactly.
And a woman like that, you don't need any relationship coaching. You'll be valuable to anybody, male, female, career. If you can drop into that, trust yourself.
Trust yourself, trust the process, trust in the universe. So uh, let go and let God. You know that expression? Let go and let God. So when you let go, God will touch your life
Hmm.
in such a way that you've never expected in your life. So let God grace work uh, through you and
Hmm.
in you. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Let go and let God. So that
Interesting.
is what I teach. This is also, I think, what Jacqui has come to learn, even only the past 24 hours, right, Jacqui? Because you came with some sort of idea and worries about certain thing in your life right now that you can help. But you worried about what people say about it, what people say about you, or other people's opinion and judgment. So that is the good example of being in a neurosis zone is when you know that you cannot do anything different, but you are being swayed by other people's opinion and judgment because they approach it from a place that is not yours, from their own projections, basically their own
Yeah.
issues, their own
If someone else is in their head
unhealed
and then they look
wounds.
at your life, they're going to give you a lot of head advice, not heart
Exactly,
based
not hard bed,
advice.
but hard bed.
But
Yes,
only you really know heart based what it feels like to be you. Other people can't really get into what it actually feels like. So I think I was listening to other people's opinions, who are very intelligent people, but I think only you can trust. That's when she said, let go and let God. So my project with these interviews and with my ebook is sort of like looking back 5 years ago when I met Kat. I liken it to like I was having trouble on the on ramp getting onto relationships because I had a lot of fear based thinking, mind based thinking. And so, what I'm doing with my project, with my interviews, and my ebook is if there's lots of women like myself in the previous days out there who it's like you can't get on the exit ramp because you just jam up and you get scared. Everybody's been behind that person that goes to get on the highway of love and then they just panic and you're like, what are you doing? At least get out there. Like, don't jack on your brakes on the exit ramp. So like that's the start page of my book is someone who can't, they're just so stuck in fear and in the wrong brainwave and seeing only themselves and what might happen that's negative where they get hurt. And the last page of my book would be like what Kat's talking about for a lifestyle. Like you got over the fear, you let go, you trust God, you trust the universe. There's going to be bad drivers out there. There might even be accidents along your pathway. But if you trust yourself and you trust your own judgment to make decisions and align yourself with God and your best heart's interest, you can be on that highway going 80. And that's what my book's trying to do with women is give them the confidence to believe in their own selves, stop listening to other people and get on the highway of love and just start to know the ways of lovingness. Because if you're on the exit ramp, it's like somebody asking, how do I text somebody so they respond? Like you just want one move to try to move forward. But if you're learning cat stuff and you're on the highway in the left lane, you know what to do by intuition because you're in a state of grace and powerful and you trust yourself and you trust God that even if something bad were to happen in a relationship, a train wreck breakup, the guy cheats or something, whatever it is, but you trust yourself and you trust God that you can swerve around it and continue to drive confidently. That's what my book is going to try to do, and what I'm trying to do with my interviews is get people out there and trusting the highway of love and having fun. Because it's no fun when you're scared all the time.
That's right.
But
That's right.
this lifestyle, this is fun. Trusting God, seeing what gifts come, just leaning back, having confidence, driving that car of love.
That's awesome, Jacqui. All right. So that do I answer your question? The leaning back lifestyle. It's
Yeah.
basically, you know, the way I teach is unconventional. Well, there are conventional ways of doing it, and I still do it as well, right? But most of the time is really just through inducing sort of new awareness or expanded awareness in my students, so they begin to see things differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about modeling, more about replicating the energy that works. If you feel good about that kind of energy, say about me, that is what you're going to replicate to, you know, to be effective or functional around people, especially the people that you are in a relationship with.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's the brainwave. So of course under theta, because theta is already so slow, right? Is delta. Delta is complete deep sleep. That's flat, kind of flat line.
Hmm. It makes so much sense to me with the driving analogy because,
Mm-hmm.
like, sometimes you'll be in traffic and you're agitated and you're trying to get ahead and you don't like what's being presented to you and you're not at peace. But there's other times when I would drive so much for my job in sales, I would just drop into this state of complete acceptance. And it was almost like I knew that six cars up, this guy on the right was going to cut in or do this. Like I was completely like connected and had the knowingness of the whole environment because I was so dropped in and calm. If you drive from that place in your relationships or even just on the highway where you drop into connectedness, there's a physics Bell's theorem which says at a deeper level of the universe, there's no trouble crossing time and space. Essentially, a particle here is connected to a particle all the way across the universe. That's if you can drop your brain waves into that place where the monks do, where they're connected at the lower level to the entire ocean of universe that's underneath this reality, you can have such a profound effect. That's why you get a phone call from somebody who drops the opportunity you want into your lap because you're so connected to the universe. All of the pathways to get things to you, resources are open. So that's sort of like living with extreme self-confidence. I think that's what Kat's really teaching is a woman with extreme self-confidence and radical self-acceptance. Just I'm okay exactly where I am. Everything is perfect. I trust God. I trust relationships. I trust myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how would you tell someone who's not in extreme self-confidence? That's the hardest thing, right? Because your mind wants to find all these reasons why you're not.
Because yeah, that's the nature of the mind. So long you haven't realized how your mind works, you're always going to be having these sort of self-worth issues, because your mind is going to always find things that confirm your belief about yourself, right? um, your mind is always judging 24/7. So if you don't have a real problem in life, your mind will help you find problems. This is why people have problems in life. It's not necessarily that they have real problems, but always because the mind cannot be happy unless it's working on problems. So if they cannot find problems, it will find one for you, right? So the state of mental health is how many problems you have in life. So how many mental disturbances that is caused by unskillful thinking you go through or experience in life? Ask that to yourself.
Mm,
how how often you feel disturbed by your own thought process, ladies
that's why in
and
America we
gentlemen.
have these celebrities that we think are perfect, and if you were to click into their mind, all they're doing is their mind is just finding somewhere where they don't measure up to perfection. And I think the average
Yeah.
American woman, if you actually watched her mind over an hour, think of how many thoughts that unchecked is going to ping about, oh, my thighs should be thinner, I should have XYZ, oh, I should nip and tuck this or that. Like, unchecked, your mind will actually go to infinity with finding things wrong with you. But if you drop into Kat's recommended lifestyle, you're basically just saying, I fully accept, radically, fully, extremely self accept myself in this moment exactly as I am.
Right, right. And then of course, the minute you stop imagining that you have problems, and you become the very thing that you always seek, that is always been there. It's always been there. You just didn't know it. It was buried by these layers of junk thoughts. The
Yeah.
real you is already there. Uh, it's dormant right now. It's buried by layers of neurotic thoughts.
That's when you know you're 5D because you're realizing I am creating this reality. That's the
Right.
only difference between a 3D person and a 5D person is a 3D person, I'm sorry, a 5D person is aware that they are actually actively creating their
Right.
reality and they take the driver's wheel as opposed to
You're the co-creator,
thinking you're in the back seat, right?
co-creator of this whole experience of life.
Because if
Really.
you stop all the BS and you just say, oh, no, no, I don't need any of those things in life. I'm perfect exactly as I am. Well, guess what? You're the creator. You suddenly will be perfect
Right.
exactly as you are. And people will come to you the next day and say, oh, you're so beautiful. You're so perfect. It's the most amazing thing. And you look the same. You just flipped an internal switch. But people get the vibe like that. The next
So
day
if
it'll
you
happen.
go to get into that dormant natural self, right, then you realize you no longer need these self-improvement things. There is no self to improve.
Then you start enjoying the gifts, and then
Right,
you're
right.
open. Your eyes
You
are
you
open to all the gifts you were actually
you're
getting
already
all along.
perfect as you are, and because you see it, not just believe, but you see it and you know it, and perfect action and speech will come out of that state of being, right?
Mm.
And then you already it.
Buddha
So and then
mind.
you start attracting things that you originally thought, if I come to that place of perfection, I will start attracting things. Well, then just be perfect because you already are perfect.
You're the judge and jury.
Right. But because you don't know it, it's buried by your dysfunctional thinking pattern all your life. You don't know how to access and release the giant.
Mm.
The giant
The genie
within.
in the bottle,
Yeah,
right?
the
Yeah.
genie in the bottle.
You are the
The
genie in the
giant
bottle.
within.
That's the secret of the Buddha's smile. Look at this fat guy. He's having the time of his life. He's just taking whatever gift the universe gives him, even bad things. You can know it's just a frame of reference, of perspective.
Right. And because you come from that place of I'm good, I'm fine, I don't need anything else, right? And then you exude that kind of energy that people are going to respond to in such a positive way. And that's how you manifest all the great things in life
Mm.
because people respond to you.
It's like you have a cup that's, if your mind is saying your cup is always half empty and focusing on what you don't have, your cup is half empty. But if your mind decides your cup is full, well, then you start overflowing to all the people all around you. So if you want to be a woman who's precious and loving and loved and beloved, all you need to do is make your cup full and abundant. And it's not an outside, it's not a looks game, it's not a supermodel
Oh,
game,
yeah.
it's an internal game. So this
It's the
game of
internal
emotional
game.
well-being, yeah, you just decide the cup is full and you're going to overflow and you slow the brainwave down. Then you can see where other people need lovingness and you need lovingness, and you can become that
Yeah.
loving person who overflows this stream of abundance to everyone all around you.
As I said, emotional well-being is the absence of self. So if you're so self-conscious, thinking about yourself all the time, right? It will define the state of your mental health. And a lot of people are so deep in that obsessive thinking about the self that they are so mentally disturbed.
Mm. That's the Christ consciousness, is basically you
Exactly.
stop
This
drawing a line
state
around yourself, and the ego is actually doesn't exist. It's just something we create in our head. But the Christ
created.
consciousness, you've got this guy Jesus up dying on a cross, and he says, Father, forgive these other guys who are, abusing me. It's almost like he is saying, like, it's his own right hand doing something wrong, and he's saying, oh, Father, oops, forgive this right hand, it doesn't know what it's doing. So when you get into Christ consciousness, and you don't have to be one or other religion, it's just a frame of explaining
Yeah.
the
It's not about
consciousness
religion.
without ego. You can think of it as Buddha mind too. But like you've stopped drawing a line around yourself to protect keeping things out, which is resistance, and you're not letting things in, which is not receiving the gift. When you delete that line of ego, I, me, myself, that's the Christ consciousness and where the love comes from. Because you treat your brother or sister like it's an extension, like it's your own left hand. Like You don't hurt people.
That's
You
right.
just spread lovingness. So
Spread lovingness, but also at the same time, when you're wrong, you stand up for yourself too. So not necessarily being Christ or being a Buddha is become you become a doormat. This is like a misconception of people. You become a pushover doormat. No, I'm not a pushover. I'm not a doormat. I'm not a delicate. Oh, I can be, but for the most part, I'm not a shrinking violet. If you attack me, I attack you back. Okay, so I have the warrior in me intact as well as all the good stuff.
yeah, you can think of that's a
So,
warrior of love
so it's
because you're
balance.
protecting
We're
balance.
talking about balance, right? The state of being in the middle. But people also mistake, oh, if you're in the middle path, you're always going to be neutral about everything. No, that is wrong too. That is extreme too. Sometimes you have to take a side. Sometimes you have to take a stance, right? If you see that a child is being wrong, being molested, being killed, being murdered, being tortured, of course you're gonna take a stand. It cannot be love your enemy shit. You know what I'm saying? Turn the other cheek. I turn my other my cheek. Turn the other cheek to my enemy. That's tell you
Yeah.
that much. There is a wrong interpretation of scriptures. So not necessarily that it's always wrong either. There are times you take the high road, right? You turn the other cheek, meaning you take the high road. So it will depend on the situation, what the situation is. In war, you cannot turn the other cheek. you'll die. You'll die if you do that. So
It's whatever protects the greatest love
whatever
at the moment.
exactly, whatever it is that protects people the most for the greater good, that is the path all holy beings will take. It's not one or the other. Whatever that works the most for the most people.
So being a softened goddess isn't about doormat because you basically are maintaining a loving vibration. You're acting as a warrior of love, maintaining a loving vibration in your being and as much as you can in the beings of other people. But sometimes you have to make a choice, and that's when you would self protect to maintain lovingness at a high vibration inside your being. You're not going to let other people hurt you. If somebody comes that's
No.
hurtful into your and they're creating a draining of energy, it is your responsibility to either move back from the stimulus or put up some type of barrier where they're not allowed to just come into your space and degrade your energy field.
Like when you teach your children, for example, you cannot teach your sons or your children just to be meek, turn the other cheek all the time. What if they're bullied at school? You have to teach them to stand up for themselves as well.
Well, standing up for yourself
You
is not
know,
the same as going to war with that person after, though. That's,
or
I think,
sometimes you probably have to punch them in the face if they are so bad at it. If they bully your children, for example, you want to make sure that your children will stand up to that kind of bully.
but
Not
not then go to war for the rest of the year. Just
no
in the
no
moment. We're
in the
talking about
moment
in the
to
moment, the
in the act
appropriate
of defending
balanced
themselves, they
response.
might punch the bully boys or bully girls in the face. Then that's what it takes.
But then turn the other cheek means you don't go back to war
No,
like with that
exactly.
person.
You
You
don't
forgive.
instigate. Don't instigate uh, harming other people. You don't instigate conflicts, wars, which is basically the basis of the current system that we are getting rid of, right? It's always about conflict, instigations, about conquer, about divide and conquer, division and conquer. So they divide us. How do they divide us? They create religions, they create parties, political parties. So we always in a state of fighting among ourselves. That's why they are spared, right? When the ruling elite is spared because we are so busy attacking each other, fighting among ourselves, then they are exempted from whatever wrongdoings they are doing behind our back. That's the whole purpose. It's always conflict instigators. They are. We are not like that. That's the difference between devil demonic consciousness and Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is about peace and harmony. But sometimes peace and harmony has to be gained through war because you're dealing with psychopaths. So you know
See, that's
you
funny. I'm not warlike, but you. I think if you're in a warlike mentality, you'll see war everywhere, which is the current state of the world. But like as we were talking about yesterday, if the world starts focusing on peace and seeing all the
there
things
will
we
be
could do
time
with
for that,
peace,
and then it's coming.
yeah.
In which we're gonna when we already demolish all these bad apples, bad people, all these satanic influence from our earth, then we can start focusing on peace and harmony and creating a life that is without conflict, inner and outer. How beautiful that's going to be. That is the kind of world we're going to create
I see that.
with our divine leadership. That is my twin flame, Yeshua, JFKJR, and me. We're going to create this world without conflict, inner or outer. It will be paradise on earth. Okay? It will be paradise on earth.
If we took all the energy and resources that are going toward war and we try to have Christ consciousness on the planet and we give those resources to helping other people rather than having them stashed in our back pockets in the event people hurt us that we have retaliation, just imagine what this world would be like with all those resources that are currently going to war, actually helping children, helping families, having food for everybody.
Exactly.
So for me, that's the shift on planet Earth right now. The
It's gonna be
vibration's been
glorious.
steadily rising, and we're going to hit a point where the Earth chakra of the Earth is opening right now,
It's
and there
going.
won't be any more war after that. on
No more
planet Earth.
war. It's our the golden age is called 1,000 year of peace. Well, we're going to have it beyond 1,000 years, meaning it's going to be eternal peace, eternal Garden of Eden. We're gonna have to make sure of that, and we will make sure of that.
Yeah, war is what you do in the mind regarding what you call the other in your consciousness. So whether you're in a relationship with the other or you're in a war with the other country, if you're not at peace with all the aspects of yourself, you'll always be at war with what you perceive
Exactly.
as the other that's out there somewhere that's a threat to
Mhm.
you. Whether it's in your home, in a partner, in a relationship.
So we're gonna be alone this afternoon, Nicole, but we're gonna have barbecue today.
Oh, you're pretty dressed again.
You're
I
pretty.
like that
So
one.
here, Nicole.
Hi.
So tell yourself who you are, honey.
Well, I'm Nicole, and I'm here hanging out with these lovely ladies.
And how is it so far? Did you love it? Did you enjoy it yesterday?
Yes, I have been having a wonderful time being immersed in the peaceful cat vibes and the peaceful Jacqui vibes and the peaceful California vibes.
Yeah.
And just bringing all of that into my life and the words that
Right. Give me your feedback.
I traveled quite a bit in my past business life. So if you've never been out of the country or you just love to travel and you want to do a goddess retreat in Cabo, please reach out to Kat and she'll forward it through to me and I can organize events in 2024.
Exactly.
We have access to the VIP.
Yeah.
Kat, tell us a little bit about the
So
accommodations you've purchased.
pretty much we have access around the year to you choose men not based on physical attraction or looks, but based on how much they can provide for me. They can support me. You know, in a more traditional society, it's quite expected that women will end up with guys who will take care of them, right? So women like this are usually they're less inclined to be gravitated toward men with, and we tend as modern women we tend to look down on women who are just happy in their being taken care of by their husbands or by their men. But of course it's great to have both, right? It's great if you know how to also make your own money, so you always have options. But also at the same time you have say husbands who provide.
Yeah,
it's you in the moment. That's what you're gonna do, right? Instead of being in